Hello, everyone. So welcome to a short presentation. We'll try and keep to half an hour on Mike Data Link, the smarter way to generate boundaries and forcings for Mike numerical models, specifically Mike 21 and Mike 3, but we'll get to that. I am Steve Flood. I am a product portfolio manager at DHI, looking after marine and coast software. And I'm with Niels Riegels, who is a product owner at DHI, and he looks after DataLink, which we'll be talking about today. So I have a short presentation, which I will fly through, and then I'll hand over to Niels, who will present a live demonstration of the tool. And I think we can begin with that. So DataLink sits within a wider ecosystem called Mike Cloud. And Mike Cloud is designed to unlock some new opportunities for Mike modeling, in particular around data centricity. So it's here that we can store and manipulate data and also kick off simulations. So if you're familiar with the Mike products, and I will just quickly show a snapshot of Mike 0 here. This is Mike 0 as it is today. You'll notice that some of the tool icons on the start page actually have little clouds. So here we have a number of cloud products: Data Admin, Mesh Builder, and Data Link. So we'll be looking at Data Link today. If I minimize this, there's my cursor. I can tell you a little bit about the vision for DataLink. So Mike DataLink is a new cloud application. It's designed to help, primarily in this version, maritime and coastal modelers improve project efficiency, productivity, and profitability of their projects. Excuse me. By automating some of the really time-consuming steps in the model creation process. And particularly, we're talking about the manipulation of hindcast data. So DataLink is designed to handle a number of important steps in the model creation workflow. So we can easily generate boundary conditions and initial conditions and weather forcings for Mike 21 and Mike 3 models. We can create full three-dimensional boundary conditions for Mike 3 models in record time. And yeah, I mean, we can produce better model outputs through access and to a number of globally recognized data sets, together with DHI's global wave model, which is our own proprietary data set. And this is expected to grow. The number of data sets within DataLink is expected to grow. Okay. So, core functionality. Well, DataLink currently supports Mike 3, the flow model, Mike 21 flow model FM, as well as Mike 21 spectral waves FM. So typically for a flow model, we would be generating boundary conditions, velocity or flux, but more typically water levels. Wind forcings, we have ERA 5 wind in DataLink to provide surface boundary conditions, so we can model the effect of wind-driven currents without the need to do any additional conversion, for example, from grid data. And for Mike 21 spectral waves FM, we can provide a really good offshore wave boundary condition, as well as the wind forcings. Core functionality, again, we're creating boundary conditions, initial conditions, and forcings. And all of these are created in a Mike-ready format. So no need for additional conversion. We can also visualize meshes in Data Link. We have the option to export forcings to a native resolution rather than interpolating them onto a computational mesh. We have the option to extrapolate outside the data provider coverage, and we have a simplistic C-level adjustment option, for example, when dealing with any geoid issues associated with the HICON model. I won't go through this, but we will just leave this on the screen for a moment. And these are the data products which are within the tool. So we have HICON data from 2003 to 2023, generally in a 3-hourly resolution. We have some Copernicus data, some CFS, ERA5. We have the DTU10 global tide model in a number of resolutions. You might remember that this is the tidal prediction model, which is shipped with DHI Marine software. And we have the DHI Global Wave Model 2022. So before I hand over to Niels for a demonstration, we obviously need to prepare for use of Data Link, and the first thing we need is a mesh. Then we need to obviously know which type of simulation we're undertaking. We need to know a simulation period and what we're modeling, what type of data is needed, and then which items are required for extraction. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Niels Wiegels. Niels, are you with me? Can you take control?
I'm with you, and I'll take control.
Thank you.
So let's begin with the demonstration of Data Link. So as Steve says, it's a web app, so it's accessed through a web browser. The way you get there is by logging on to Mike Cloud Admin, which is our kind of file sharing website. I'll do that. And I'll pick a website. So I have access to a number of different ones. Most of you will probably just have access to one that's associated with your company. So DHI, when you subscribe to Mike Cloud, you get a website, and then you get login credentials to log into it, and then you have the ability to store your data there and also to access our web apps. So having logged in here, you can see our 3 web apps. There's a different icon for each one. So I'm first going to open a folder. So you can also, within your website, you can store data in folders. So I'm going to open the folder first. And then when I perform extractions in Data Link, as you'll see, the data then is sent here after I extract it. And from there, I can download it to my local machine. So if I click on the Data Link icon here, I can then enter the Data Link app. So I'll just zoom out a bit. I wanted to start by uploading a mesh, but this can sometimes take a minute or two, which isn't that long, but in a presentation with 50 people, it can feel like a long time. So I've uploaded a mesh in advance. It's this mesh off the west coast of the United States. But let me just show you what to do to import a mesh. So you see on the right-hand side, we have 4 icons which control the workflow. There's importing the mesh, which is the first step, then data extraction settings, then data selection, and finally export. That exports it back to Mike Cloud Admin. So we're in the first step where you import the mesh. And here there's 2 options. You can import it you can upload directly from your local computer, or you can import it from Mike Cloud Admin. So here it's already been done. Then we get to data extraction settings. Let me just go through all the different fields that are available here. So first thing I'll do is I'll select the mesh that I want to use for the data extraction. So I can upload more than one mesh to Data Link. Here I only have one. the one that you can see. And the next step, I select the model type for which I'd like to extract boundary conditions and initial conditions and forcings. There's three options. There's MIC21, there's MIC3, and there's MIC21 spectral waves. The data sources available depend on the model type. Actually, for MIC21 and MIC3, they're the same. But for MIC21 spectral waves, it's different because here we offer the DHI global wave model for defining your boundary conditions. But I'll go back to MIC21. You can see the 5 main data sets that we have, and you can also see the dates available. We have Copernicus. I'll just add the time step. Copernicus is available daily. ERA5 is hourly. HICOM is every 3 hours. And NOAA is hourly. I'm not sure of the time step of DTU10 tide, but I can check that for you later if anyone's interested. On the data extraction settings, you can also set a start date and an end date. So here I've selected the month of January in 2018. If I were to select an end date, for example, after the last date for which we have Copernicus data, let me just pick a day. I didn't see. I have to try to challenge data link here and find a date that is too late. So let me try May 1st, 2023. There you can see that we don't have ERA5 data or NOAA data that go all the way to May 1st, 2023. So you see this warning that tells you that that date's not available. So I'll go back to my original choice, which was February 1st, 2018. And it's updated here. Then I can go to the data extraction settings. So here I can select boundary conditions. I can select initial conditions and forcings. So let's go through them one by one. For boundary conditions, you can see I have 3 boundaries in this mesh. So if I take the group selection, I can get the data for all 3 boundaries, and I can pick which data sets. I can take just one, for example, HICOM, or I can take all 3 or any other combination. What I don't get a choice about is the data type. Right? So if I select HICOM here, I get all the HICOM data sets. If I only want for one boundary, I can unselect the group selection, and then I can pick a data provider for any combination of boundaries. If I go to initial conditions, the group selection is a little bit different. It's grouped by data type. So here it's on. So if I take HICOM, for example, I'll get initial conditions for all the HICOM data types. If I don't want that, I can uncheck it, and then I can select individual data types by provider. Forcings works the same way. It's grouped by data type. If I uncheck it, I can select individual data types by provider. There's one more detail about initial conditions. The time period is specified as you saw before in the data extraction settings, but for the initial conditions, you need to select an initial conditions date in this initial conditions date field. Finally, we have the export settings. So let's just pick something to export. So let's say I take HICOM, I'll ungroup the group selection, and I'll take HICOM boundary conditions for boundary 2. That's the one at the top here. You can see by the color. There you see I have one boundary condition selected. And then I'm ready to go. I just want to add, there's 3 more selection options that I have before I go forward with the export. If I'm extracting boundary conditions or initial conditions, I have the option to extrapolate outside the data provider coverage. So sometimes a data provider will not have data available for every element of my mesh, particularly if I'm in a coastal area. And so then I can extrapolate if I check this option. If I'm selecting forcings, I have the option to export to the native grid instead of to the mesh if I don't want to interpolate to the mesh. And finally, if I'm extracting a sea level measurement, I have the possibility to adjust it using the sea level adjustment field. So I'll click export. And then I can select any folder to extract the data. So this is a folder in my cloud admin. It's not a folder on my own computer. So I'll just take the one that I entered the application from, and I'll click export. And the extraction starts, and we have a progress button up here that keeps you informed about progress. While we're waiting for that to get going, I'll just show you one more feature is in Data Link, which is the layer management system. If you click on this button, you have some layer management options. I can turn the mesh boundaries on and off. The mesh itself can also be turned on and off. If I'd like get some insight into the the coverage of the different data providers, in particular the spatial resolution, I can turn on the data provider grids. So here you can see Copernicus, ERA5, HICOM, and NOAA. It's not available for D210 TIDE or the DHI global wave model because these are in meshes. I can also change the base maps. I have a satellite view, a hybrid view, and an street map view. Finally, I have a choice of using the default projection, which is Web Mercator, or I can switch to the projection of the mesh that I've selected. Okay, so I've got a message that the extraction has succeeded. So if I go to my cloud admin and refresh, I can see it's there in the folder with the date stamp. So I will select it and click download. And now it will download to my machine. So this is the extraction step doesn't get it to your machine. There's a second step that you've got to do to get it there. I'll open that folder then. And it's downloaded in a zip file. So I'll extract from the zip file. And there you see my boundary, HICOM boundary conditions are there. So they're in a line file format, DHI's DFS1 format. Had I extracted Mike 3 boundary conditions, this would be a DFSU format because of course the boundary would extend all the way to the seabed. So that's a quick walkthrough of Data Link. We think it's quite powerful software because from a mesh within a few minutes, you can set up all the boundary conditions, initial conditions, and forcings for a marine model. So we think it saves quite a bit of time for setting up a model.
And that is basically how to get started and what you need to get started. So I guess you can see my screen now.
I can.
Good. So the obvious requirement is that you will need Mike 21 or Mike 3 to make best use of the Data Link product. You will also need a Mike Cloud subscription, and these are sort of these are company subscriptions, but you can add users to them. So I can't remember the exact pricing right now for Mike Cloud, but it's a notional amount on top of the Mike desktop prices, and that will give you access to one administrative user, and then you can add named users as you go. The Data Link product is available on a company-wide subscription, so you pay once, and everyone who is a named user within your organization can use it. So yeah, that's the long and the short of it. We have a number of resources that we will make sure that you have the links for. In fact, we'll share this PowerPoint so you can have these links. We have a user guide, we have some getting started information, and we have a YouTube channel. Please reach out to me or Niels if you have any further questions. please reach out to your local Mike sales representative if you want a quotation for Mike Data Link. I hope that you get as much sort of good use out of it as you can. We think it's a very powerful product, and as I said, we will be looking to increase the number of data sets available, as well as other features. Okay, shall we leave it there, everyone? Thank you very much for listening, and thanks very much to Niels for the demo, and we'll see you again soon.